Something wonderful is happening to me right now. Something wonderful is happening to me right now. I accept things the way they are. I accept things the way they are not. Something wonderful is happening to me right now. I love wasting. I love wasting. I get free. I reap abundantly. I already have everything I need. Wonderful is happening to me right now. Don't you feel it? Something wonderful is happening to me right now. Oh yeah, I accept things the way they are. I will. I accept things the way they are not. Something wonderful.
Good morning, welcome to the center.
We're so happy to have you join us today.
Yes, so glad you're here with us.
And we welcome you and we want you to come back again and again and again.
Morning and welcome to the center.
My mom is really trying.
It's comfortable for you. Lower your eyes and relax.
Please close your eyes, and just for a moment, allow me to speak in the first person for you. In the stillness and quiet of our sanctuary, I know that God is that love, that joy, that infinite provider who whispers in my ear, all that I have is yours. How blessed am I to be one with this loving presence. And I relax in the truth that I am one, and each and every person here is one with all that is. As this month of Thanksgiving comes to an end, I open up my heart to the joys of just everyday living. My cup runneth over with all of God's blessings. And I accept wholeness, love, joy, financial stability as everything in my life unfolds with ease. I know the message delivered by Reverend Dan today is exactly what everyone needs to hear. And so I simply just say, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for the freedom to choose the life that I want to live. I'm so grateful for our beloved ministers, our ministry of prayer team, the volunteers, the sound guys, Patty and Dave who bring us the music, and Julius who's taking our pictures today. I can let go and let God now. This prayer is complete. So I release my word into the Lord, knowing that God's perfect work is being done, and we can all say, and so it is.
The title of my talk today is Money is God in Action. Money is God in action. So clearly again, we're talking about money again this week. Now remember, we agreed at the beginning of the month, because the theme for the month is financial health and prosperity. And so we agreed that we were going to talk about money at church. And we were going to talk about it, and we weren't going to let the discussion make us feel uneasy or uncomfortable. And so I say, how lovely that we're talking about one of my favorite subjects again this Sunday. Because personally, I don't know of a better place to talk about money. Because we are religious scientists. And there is something that we understand that many people do not understand. We understand that there is a law in the universe, and that law takes the way we think about money. It takes the way we believe about money. It takes the way we feel about money, the way we speak about money. And it uses those things to determine how, and it uses those things to determine how much money comes into our experience. And that's just one side of the equation, because it also uses those things to determine how and how much of that money will leave our experience. So, yes. Because of course, I mean, you know, it's a two-sided equation. Many are very successful in having money come in. And they're very successful in watching it all go out. So let us discuss our relationship with money. Because what we know as religious scientists is that we ourselves are directly, not indirectly, but directly responsible for the amount of money that we attract, that we bring into our experience, and eventually how much of that we retain. So let us examine the title of this talk. Money is God in action. Now, that's a pretty bold proclamation. That's a pretty bold statement. So we're going to explore this principle, this idea, and we're going to determine for ourselves if that truth, that proclamation, really holds water. So, you will recall when we kicked off this month of financial health and prosperity, we kicked it off with a guest speaker by the name of Mae McCarthy. And she used her life-transforming book, The Path to Wealth, as part of her talk and part of her workshop. Now, I have been working with it passionately ever since. And I could have saved a lot of money on highlighter pens, because I should have highlighted the parts that didn't need to be highlighted. But ever since I started working with this, I'll tell you, the demonstrations, and I use that word specifically, because this teaching is only relevant if we are seeing actual demonstrations in our lives. So the demonstrations that I'm seeing, they are there, they are concrete, they are continuous, they are substantial, and these demonstrations are moving me forward in my life in ways that I always knew to be true. But just, there was something not coming together for me. I'm seeing it coming together. So let's discuss a demonstration that actually came to fulfillment last week. So this is fresh. Fresh. Like me. Fresh. Exciting. So I have been working with two very large financial institutions. And by the way, I don't know that I need to say this, but I need to say it. When I talk about this, this is not about boasting. This isn't about, I don't know. I just want people to know, you know what, we're in this together. We're all trying to figure it out. We're learning, we're applying, we're demonstrating, and I just shared this with you because in my heart, I know that what we've been looking for to happen in our lives is possible. So I share this with heart, not with ego. So I've been working with two very large financial institutions. And this all started early in September. And the idea was that a significant business transaction would come out of this. And I was hoping that this would be consummated very quickly. And yeah, and it did. It represented thousands of dollars. So here we go. Now, in order for this transaction to take place, financial institution A had to provide specific paperwork to financial institution B. So I contacted financial institution A with a request for this paperwork. And about 2 weeks later, A provided the necessary paperwork. So I delivered the paperwork to B. And B said they would review it. Well, about 2 weeks later, they come back and it said rejected. So lovingly, you know, in red, it said, and it said, the information that we need is very specific, and your paperwork does not contain that information. So I would say, now you have to understand, it's been about a month now, so there was a wee bit of frustration. So I delivered the paperwork back to B. And I said, can you look at this? They said, yes, we will review it. About how many weeks later? 2 weeks later. Because apparently there's no sense of urgency about any of this with anyone in A or B. Only here, okay? So they review it. They review it. And they give me some additional paperwork. So I take the paperwork from A and I deliver it to B. And B says, we will review it. And about 2 weeks later, B rejects it, stating that the new documents don't contain the specific information they need. So you could sense, possibly, that there was a wee bit more frustration starting to bubble up. I take the paperwork from B and I take it back to A. And I say to A, could you look at what B is asking for? And maybe you could put that information in the paper. I'm going to take the paperwork and take it over here. So A says, let us see what we can do. About 2 weeks later, A states the following. I'm sorry, Mr. Jerome, our financial institution is regulated by government laws and regulations, and we have very strict policies and procedures. The paperwork and information we provide cannot be altered to fit your individual case. They are crafted in a way to fit most business situations. Unfortunately, this is all we have to offer. Thank you. There's the frustration now. See, starting to build up a little bit. A little bit of that frustration, you see what I'm saying? And I started to wring my hands a little bit. You know how sometimes you would use your hands to maybe choke something? So there was the wringing and the frustration. So I take this paperwork and I deliver it to B. And B says, we will look into your matter. About 2 weeks later, B replies in the exact calm and irritating tone. Unfortunately, without the information we've requested, we are unable to complete your business transaction. Thank you. So now I'm feeling a real rise in frustration. I mean, we're hitting the top end of your frustration level. And so, and you know, now there's been a couple of months, right? I mean, months have passed. And I'm starting to get a little concerned. I mean, this is an important transaction, involves a lot of money, and it has the appearance of being blocked. It has the appearance of being stuck. And then the God of my being, it came to me. And the God of my being said, you know, I don't know, Rev Dan, but you know, maybe we ought to do something crazy, and why don't we pray about it? I'm like, oh, okay. So, following May's book, I take this situation into my 4:30 a.m. meeting with the CSO, the Chief Spiritual Officer of the universe. And that's a term that May uses, and that's how she describes God, the infinite mind, spirit. And so I go into my meeting with the CSO, and we go into the morning routine. So we go to step 1. And step 1 says, read something spiritual and uplifting to get into a receptive mood. So I find a part of the book and I begin to read. And I want to share this with you because it's pretty powerful stuff. So, she says, we're having reading time. All right, so now, here we go. The second step in the CSO meeting is to write out gratitude statements in a daily letter to the CSO. So this is a gratitude letter to God. In this section, you'll express gratitude for what you already have, and for all that you'd like to receive as though you have already received it. A principle of the science of mind, yes?
Yes.
This is a form of goal setting and gratitude. For example, she says, in one of my CSO meetings, I brought the concern that our company needed to reach a sales goal of $400,000 by the end of the month. And like I said before, when I spoke earlier this month, May and her experience in business is no joke. My gratitude letter stated, thank you for the harmonious relationship that our company has with all current and future customers. I am so grateful that the right customers are being drawn to us and that we can help them in superior ways. I appreciate the $400,000 in new business that we receive by the end of the month as a fair exchange of value. She says, this is an example of giving gratitude both for what I already had and also what I wanted to have happen. She goes on, she says, what the CSO does with this is creates the best path to the good that I desire. The CSO creates the path and orchestrates situations that allow me to make my gratitude statements true. When I practice this form of gratitude, I receive definite direction or leads from the CSO about where to be or what actions to take. So unlike what I've done in the past, where I would do my treatment in the morning, I never really listened for direction. I never really did anything. I just kind of waited for that one day where the doorbell rang and I opened the door and there was a big pot of coins out there. And I remember once, and I mean, here's the true story. I remember once in the darkest financial time of my life, I prayed for more money. And I got ready to go for a run, and I opened the front door, and there was a dime on the porch. And I remember saying to God, I said, you know, that's not funny. And God said it wasn't intended to be. Wait for the CFO to guide you to the next step. In the example above, she says, I thanked the CSO for $400,000 in sales resulting from a fair exchange of value with our customers. I thanked the CSO for the $400,000 as though my company had already received it. I described with gratitude what I'd like, and in doing so, I set my mind and energy vibration on that good. Now listen. Within the first week of thanking the CSO for the $400,000, a customer came to mind. I felt an impulse to call her, which I obeyed. I called her office and learned that she had left her position 3 months prior for a new job at a larger health system. I called her cell phone and congratulated her on her new position. She thanked me and said that she had planned to call me later that week. She wanted to implement our software and equipment technology across all her hospitals in the new health system. She had already received budget approval of the overall plan, and the hospital's first order would be over $400,000. She was ready to get started with a contract right away. So I read that, and I was inspired. And what came up for me in that moment of inspiration is the very thing that Dr. Holmes tells us about this. And Dr. Holmes tells us that the law is no respecter of persons. That each person is created equally, and each person has equal access to the law. And what the God of my being said at that point, what is possible for one is possible for everyone. What is possible for one is possible for all. And by the way, Rev Dan, it is all possible. So I went to step 2 of my meeting with the CSO. Write out gratitude statements in a letter to the CSO. Include those things I am grateful for and those that I want as though they had already manifest in my life. I'd like to read to you part of that letter, which is in my own writing. And this is what I wrote. I give thanks that my business transaction is completed so successfully. I am so grateful that everyone involved in this transaction is positive, enthusiastic, kind, happy, and eager to help me. Every conversation is positive, constructive, and uplifting. I am so thankful that all the documents and all the information contained therein is right and perfect in every way and meets all necessary requirements. What a joy that this transaction is completed with such ease and grace. I am filled with gratitude that I receive, and I put an amount of money there, and then I wrote, or something greater. And I said, and this contributes to my net value of some dollar in the millions of dollars. Okay, so I continue to go through all of the various steps of the meeting with the CSO in the morning, and then I come to step 5. And step 5 is this. Watch every moment of the day for a sign or some intuitive direction to take the next step toward my desired good. Instead of simply hoping, expect that these signs will show up. And when they do, don't overanalyze the instructions. Do them. So I go about my day very mindful, very watchful, waiting for direction from the CSO. And I remember in just a flash of an instant, what came up for me was, on your lunch hour, gather up your paperwork, do spiritual mind treatment, and call financial institution B. So the lunch hour comes around, and I do exactly as I'm directed to do. I call on the phone, and Dara answers the phone. And she is as sweet as pie. I mean, she is kind, she's attentive, she's interested. She pulls up my information on her computer, and she starts looking at everything, and I'm telling her everything that transpired. And she goes, you know, Mr. Jerome, I'm looking at your information now. I think there's been an oversight here. She said, would you mind holding? Because I am literally, and this will take me a few minutes, I am literally walking to the other part of the building, and I'm going to ask them to look at this right now. Do you mind holding? I was like, yeah, as long as it's not 2 weeks. A few minutes later, Dara comes back on the line, and she goes, you know, Mr. Jerome, I've discussed your matter with the department handling your transaction. We literally all sat in a huddle and looked at your paperwork, and in fact, there was an oversight. Now here's the thing. I know it's Friday, and it's Friday before the Thanksgiving week coming up. And she says, here in New York, the business day is winding down very quickly. Now, because there has been time that has transpired, I really need new paperwork from you. I need you to go online, download it, complete it, sign it, get it all together, and I need you to fax it to me right away. And I am literally going to stand by the fax machine until it comes over. So you need to be quick. And she says, I'm going to watch for it, I'm going to grab it, I'm going to have it with me, and on Monday morning we're going to review this with the other department. She said, call me Monday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I do exactly as I'm directed to do. Now here's the challenge. There was a Saturday and a Sunday between the Friday and the Monday, which is enough time to be crazy. And what May says in her book, one of the lessons that she has learned is, I wasn't going to read this, and now I decided I'm going to read it, so of course it's not marked, but I want to emphasize one of the things that she talks about is the fact that the power of the universe is always available, but it works best for me when I am at peace and untroubled. And then she goes on to say, a fearful mindset does not allow any room for the CSO to work. So my work on the Saturday and Sunday, between the Friday and the Monday, was not to get crazy. And so I continued to pray, continued to meet with the CSO, stay calm, stay peaceful, stay centered, knowing that this good was already done. So I call on Monday morning, as instructed. A very nice young lady answers the phone. I inquire about Dara. She comes back and says, unfortunately, Dara is busy with another client. Can I help you? I'm like, oh. So I begin to tell this other young lady my story, and she goes, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm like, 1 minute, and she goes, blah, 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 blah. She goes, Mr. Jones, just so you know, your business transaction was already completed this morning. Everything is done, and the money's already been wired. Now, I want to say one other thing about this. There were many lessons for me to learn through this experience. One of them was, I was reminded that God's timing is always perfect. It's always perfect. And when you're feeling stuck, and you feel that there's this appearance of blockage, that's when God might actually be doing its best work for you. That's when you need to shift down and breathe into trusting the process. Now, the reason I emphasize this is this. Because of this delay from early September to late November, because things happen and things change and markets change, the amount of the transaction was literally double what I had expected it to originally be. So, I ask you, can money be God in action? Absolutely. In my case, absolutely, money was God in action in my life. I think about how ingenious the idea is of money. Because if I had to go hunt deer to give you deer meat so I could get eggs, we would both die. Because this doesn't hunt except anything but a whitetail. Okay? That's the hunting. Money is ingenious. The idea of money, the energy of money. And what I realized was, God is in it. And that should be our first clue that money is good. The infinite mind, in its knowingness, created this economic method of circulation. It's ingenious. And God is in it. And God is active in it. And the other thing that I realized in all of this was this. God is in it. God is active in it. And there is nowhere where God limits how much of it you can have. In nothing that I have read or studied has there ever been, well, when you get to this point, that's all the money you can attract. Never, anywhere, including the Holy Bible. We are religious scientists. We are scientists. We are pioneers. We are on the leading edge of understanding how life works. We are on the leading edge of figuring out and starting to demonstrate how we can create. That is amazing. So I say the time has come. And I know you all pretty well. We've all been floating a little bit in the same boat. And I think the time has come, I know the time has come, that we are ready to create an abundance of money. Money in our bank accounts, money in our pockets, in our wallets, our purses, money to save and invest, money to build wealth, money to actually spend, joyfully spend and enjoy. And the time has come to have the kind of money where we can intelligently and systematically and heartfully give to others. Use to create a world that works for everyone. So, God has scheduled a one-on-one with you. The chief spiritual officer of this vast and infinite universe is waiting in the boardroom for you to have a meeting with you personally to create your path to wealth. And officially today, as I understand it, the CSO of this universe is now taking applications for individuals to become members of the Millionaires Club. I hope that meeting goes well. I can hardly wait to see how this all turns out. I love you all, honestly. So let us all take a deep collective breath. And just let that remind each and every one of us that we all breathe the same air, that we all share the same life. And this life is God's life. And it is infinite, and it is intelligent, and it is loving, and it is abundant. And so I celebrate the very truth of who I am and who each and every person here is. The very life of God. And so I give thanks for the gift of life. I give thanks for this teaching. I give thanks for this center and each and every person here today. I give thanks knowing that each person has a wondrously abundant holiday filled with good friends, great memories, great experiences, financial blessing, and endless gifts. I give thanks knowing that each person, as they leave this building, I declare that each is guided, guarded, protected, provided for. And that each person here moves into an amazing experience. And so I simply say, thank you, God. I give thanks for all this good. And now I release my word into the perfect workings of the law. This law, as Reverend CHERYL tells us, has everything it needs to make my word reality. So I let go, I let God, and together we say, and so it is. Sing.
Sing with CHERYL.
Yes, there is peace on earth, a peace that was
happening to me right now.
Something wonderful is happening to me right now.
I know this in my mind.
I know this in my mind.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
And so it is.
And so it is.
And please don't leave here with a heavy heart. If there's something that you'd like prayer for, please feel free to see one of our practitioners. Thank you.